This next video is on metals that have a variable charge. So this is my second part. Variable charge means that we can have a variety of different charges. I'm not limited to just one specific fixed charge. I might be a 2+, or I could be a 3+. Now, when we're looking at our charges, we're talking with metals. These variable charges, they are the elements that have a variable charge are located in our transition metal, which is this middle section right here. I've highlighted them here in green, so the green ones all have a variety of charges. We also have some that occur over here in the bottom right corner. And if I zoom in, you can tell they have a variable charge because multiple numbers are listed. For example, cobalt has a +2 and it has a +3. If I look over here at chromium, I have a +2, a +3, a +4, a +5, or a +6. So these are all the possible charges that chromium can have. Let me zoom back out. Okay, when you are writing the name, so if I give you the formula and you have to write the name, in order to figure out what the charge is for our metal, because it can have a variety of charges, we have to figure out what charge it does have. I have to look at what it's bonded to in order to determine the charge of my metal. There's no other way. When I write my formula, I'm going to put the name of the metal, and then to indicate the charge, I put the charge in Roman numerals in parentheses. That tells me the charge of my ion, or the metal. And my non-metal, similar to the previous video in part 1, our non-metal is going to end in an IDE ending. So, for example, FeCl2. Fe is iron. Iron, looking on the periodic table, well, iron can either be a 2 or a 3+. So I'm going to leave parentheses. Cl is chlorine, so I'm going to turn that into chloride. Now, in order to figure out the charge, I have to look at what it's bonded to. It's bonded to Cl. So, Cl, find it on the periodic table over here, it has a 1- charge. So, 1-. Now, I have 2 of my chlorines. Each of them is a -1 charge. So my total negative charge is a -2. I have to have my iron charge balance this -2. So iron has to be a +2. So I'm going to put a Roman numeral 2 in my parentheses. Let's look at the next example. CrN. Cr is chromium. If I find it on the periodic table, we can have a variety of charges. So we do know it has a variable charge. I'm going to put parentheses, fill them in later. And then N is nitrogen. So I'm going to put nitro, and then I'm going to trade that into an IDE ending. So nitride. In order to figure out the charge that goes in my Roman numerals, I have to look at what it's bonded to, which is my nitrogen. So, nitrogen, 3- charge. I only have 1 nitrogen, because I don't have a number down here that tells me otherwise. So I have 1 nitrogen with a 3- charge. I also only have 1 chromium. So, in order to balance this 3- charge, chromium would have to be a 3+ charge, so that these two can cancel. So I put a 3 as a Roman numeral in the parentheses. Ni. Ni is nickel. You can never remember if it's an El or an Le. Nickel, find it on the periodic table over here. It has a +2 charge. Well, it only has a fixed charge of +2, but we still have this Roman numeral here on the periodic table, so it does want us to include a Roman numeral in our name. it only has the +2, so I can put nickel 2. And then Cl, again, we've already figured out that Cl is chloride. Now, just to double check that that 2 is what we're looking for, I can look at what it's bonded to. So, chlorine's a -1. There's 2 of them. Overall, this would be a -2. Nickel has to be a +2 to cancel that charge. Good. We've just checked our answer. Cu2O. All right. Cu is copper. It's in that same section, so we can have a variable charge. O is oxygen, so I'm going to turn it into oxide. Sorry, spelled it wrong for a moment. Oxide. Now, oxygen, if I find it on the periodic table, located over here, has a 2- charge. I only have 1 oxygen. So, my total negative charge is 2-. Copper. I have 2 coppers. I need the charge of each copper so that together they balance as 2 negatives. Well, let's start small and then increase if it doesn't work. So I'm going to start with seeing if a +1 works. If I have a +1 and I have 2 of them, then overall 2 times 1 gives me an overall +2 charge. Well, that cancels my 2 negative charge. So copper is going to be a 1 charge. Now, here's a trick that sometimes works, not always, but sometimes. If this is a -2, and I have a subscript 2 down here, it means I just kind of crisscrossed it. So if this subscript matches the charge up here for my nonmetal, then I can just undo my crisscross. So, because I only had 1 oxygen, I could figure out my charge from there. We'll see an example like that in this next one. Fe2O3. Well, Fe is iron. We already know it needs Roman numerals around it. Oxygen would become oxide. Now, if I look on oxygen, it's going to be a -2 charge. Oh, this subscript matches this charge, which means that we can just crisscross them. Well, if we crisscross that, then we can also crisscross this to be the charge on iron. So my iron is going to be iron 3 oxide. Now, if we are writing the formula, so if I give you the name and we have to write the formula, this is kind of easier for these types of compounds, then our charge will be given as our Roman numeral. We can find the charge of our nonmetal from the periodic table. And then from there, we can just crisscross our charges so they balance. So, iron 3 sulfide. Well, iron is Fe. It already tells us the charge is a +3. Sulfide, because it ends in IDE, it's coming off the periodic table to be sulfur. Sulfur would be sulfide. So, this is sulfur. And sulfur on the periodic table has a charge of 2-. So I've got a 3+ and a 2-. I just need to crisscross my charges to make these equal. So the 2 is going to come down here, and the 3 is going to come down here. Let me pretty that up a little. It would look like Fe2S3. Iron 3 sulfide is Fe2S3. Copper 2 oxide. Copper is Cu. The Roman numeral gives us the charge of a +2. Oxide is oxygen. And if I look on the periodic table, oxygen has a 2 negative charge. Now, The two negatives and the two positives, they already balance. I don't need to crisscross them because they're already balanced. So I can just write this CuO. Gold 3 bromide. Gold is abbreviated AU. The 3 tells us the charge. Bromide, the IDE ending, it's referring to bromine, which is Br. And if I find bromine over here, it has a 1 minus charge. These are not equal, +3 and a -1. So I have to crisscross my charges. The 3 comes down, the 1 comes down. Well, because it's a 1, I don't actually have to write the 1. It's implied already. So if I just put AU, Br3, that would be the better way to write this. All right, cobalt 2 chloride. Cobalt is CO. The Roman numeral 2 has a 2+ charge. Chloride, we've already seen that a couple times. Cl has a -1 charge. I'm going to crisscross my charges. Again, the 1 is implied. My 2 comes down. So I'm going to have CO, Cl2. Nickel, Ni. Roman numerals telling me the charge, so I have a +2. Phosphide is referring to phosphorus, so which is just P. And if I look at phosphorus and phosphide, it has a 3- charge. So this is a 3- charge. I'm going to crisscross my 2. I'm going to crisscross my 3. I get Ni3P2. I hope that was helpful. Crisscrossing helps get us the formula. Don't forget that if you're trying to figure out what the Roman numeral is, you have to look at what it's bonded to figure out what goes in those parentheses, to figure out that